So I think that the next major thing that we did was to build the hall.
All right, we're going to have a look at the hall because it's a pretty amazing building. It's really the hub and the central part of what camp is today. And it's a pretty big facility. Did you when you envisaged building this hall, did you think about the growth of the church and building it big enough to cater for the growth? Or it looked like a pretty ambitious project.
Yes, well, we did, and we had spare space for a while, but people kept on witnessing to others and bringing all these people into our camp.
Fantastic.
Which we were delighted, of course.
So you've designed the hall, you got obviously council approval to build that.
Yes. We got a contractor in to do that. So many things that fortunately for us, you can see the hand of the Lord in the hall. Of course you can. It was unfortunate for others. It was a downturn in the economy. And the bricklayers that came in, we engaged a team of bricklayers as well, and they were so hard up for work. The contractor was happy to basically build it at cost.
Wow.
Because he didn't want to put his gang off. So we let them camp here, and they built the hall and that ablution block at the same time, number 2 ablution block. So that's the way that happened. So so it was.
So what year was that? 1978.
This hall would have been built in 1978. And so as you can see, it's a pretty massive structure, but later on we extended part of it again because we kept running out of space. So how old were you, Ben, when we got the camp?
So if it was 75, I would have been 4.
4? Okay.
I've actually found some footage of you and me.
Yes.
So I was 4 in my little tie-dye mid-70s t-shirt, running away from the camera. Well, let's go and have a look inside.
Yes.
So this, as you can see, the setup we've got here, we've got obviously, meeting style setup, and in the back part we've got tables because we're eating here as well. But often, like on New Year's Eve, this is seats as far as the eye can see.
That's right. Plus the overflow into the marquee that we put up outside. And of course we got the kitchen, which is we put that in right from the start. Although we had to upgrade it, it wasn't quite up to regulations, but we gradually learned to conform. Yes.
It's such a great venue. I mean, in here, obviously plenty of meetings. Come kids camp, there's activities in here, and teens camp, there's sport in here, and it just gets used for such an amazing variety of wonderful activities.
Yes. Well, camps, we got it mainly for Christmas and Easter, but over the years we've found so many other uses for the different segments in the assembly, including for the fact that we've got over 350 people here this weekend, and 100 of them are visitors from outside of Adelaide. And we've got this leadership camp here, which is so ideal for that. And we have Christmas and Easter. We have zone camps. We have 3 of those. We have kids camp, which what age do they go from?
I think they're primary school, and I think it's teens camp for high school.
That's right.
And then youngies camp.
And then senior young people. And we have a seniors camp, and there's getting a lot of us now too.
Well, so you've had a few caretakers over the years, haven't you? When was the first time you had a caretaker live down here?
Well, there was I forget his name now. There was an older gentleman who just decided he retired. He lived up Elizabeth Way, but he brought his caravan down here and just was looking after the gardens and that sort of thing. And then we got Eddie Brunei.
I remember Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie was a veteran from the Second World War, and he was an interesting character.
I think I got in trouble a lot with Eddie for riding my bike too fast. I think then that turned into driving my car too fast in here.
That's right, yes. He's gone to be with the Lord now. And then after Eddie, we had I think it would have been Mike and Sue O'Reilly who retired. Then after them, I think we had Chris and Mary Leonardis here for a while, and then eventually we got Ray and Liz Fisher, who are just made for the job, and they just do a brilliant job. They're keeping an eye on everything. And the thing we realised too, that it was too much for one person, and so we have a caretaker resident, but we also have a camp manager, and Mike Murray has done that, even though he doesn't live here, but he sort of has managed all the maintenance of the buildings and that's an enormous job,
and an enormous amount of volunteers and tradespeople and.
Right, so we're still relying very much on volunteers to come and do things. And
so we've got some buildings over here. Yes. This one's a prayer room, and there's some pastors' quarters.
That's right.
They came from another campsite, I think.
That's right. Well, they came from the Woodside Army Camp.
Okay.
And they were built in 1939 at the beginning of the Second World War, and so by the time we got them, they were halfway through their life.
Pretty second hand.
Yes, and so we bought them at auction and dismantled them and brought them down here. It took us, a couple of weeks to dismantle them, and we got a carrier to bring all the stuff down there, and then we had to put the jigsaw puzzle back together.
And so when you mean dismantle, are you taking apart completely, or have you got
we took them
panels?
apart and cut them up into sections, including the floor. Some of it was asbestos that couldn't be replaced.
Yes.
And this used to be the mess, as they call it.
The mess hall for the officers of the army.
Appropriately for the army.
Yeah.
The officers' mess.
Yeah.
and so we actually enlarged that, and that became our prayer room, which we're very proud of now. It's been done up recently.
Yeah.
And
it's used every Tuesday night, I think, for
that's
meetings
right,
down
and they
here
now
as
have
well.
a midweek meeting here, and that's also used as a dormitory for the kids' camp and so on. And we've got 1, 2, 3 of the other pastors. I've got my own place, which I got built back in about 1983 or something like that, because I was the only pastor for quite a while, and I found I had a lot of people wanted to talk to me at Christmas time. We had a caravan, but if I wanted to private talk to people, I had to get the family to go away, and I thought that wasn't fair, so I thought I'll get a bigger caravan so we can have a little private room. But they were so dear, it was just as cheap to build that, and with voluntary labour, they built a nice cabin for us and had plenty of room to talk to people, and so that was the only one for a while. But when we got the opportunity to get this, we had like 3 senior pastors, and one from Woodcroft, one from the Bogue, and one from Elizabeth, and they were in those other 3 units here and the big prayer room. And also we got 2 very large dormitories up on the hills. So we got them at the same time.
Did you? Right. Yeah. Shall we go and have a look at those?
Yes, can do.
Now, it's got an interesting name, these big dormitories up on the hill. Yes. It's called KFC. Why?
Yes.
Why is it called KFC?
Well, the original part of it, now that was something we built afterwards, separate from the ones which were the dormitories. When it came to getting these buildings, well, we got those ones up there, 2 long buildings, which used to be, I think they were single rooms that they used to have their troops able to have a room to themselves. Yeah. But we got squeezed as many people as we could into them, and we built those 2. But then we saw an opportunity. I picked up the paper one Wednesday morning in the building materials, and there was a developer asking if anybody was interested in taking away a school building because he was on a deadline to get rid of it.
Yes.
So it was either get someone to take it in or come in with a bulldozer. So I rang him up and said we were interested, and he said, oh, I've got someone else that wants it. They're going to let me know by 6 o'clock tonight. And so anyway, he rang me back at 6 and they said they can't do it. It had to be out in 4 days. So I think I went to the Elizabeth meeting that night and said, well, can we have some helpers? So yeah, they poured out and we dismantled this building. It was a school building, and it was in sections which were in feet, 4 by 8 feet or whatever you see, or 2.4 by 1.2 or whatever. And so we dismantled it in 2 days, and on the Saturday we got a carrier to come and pick it up when the Elizabeth people loaded onto the truck, and the Woodcroft people unloaded at this end.
Right.
And I think we already had those there, and so again we had a heap of building material, which we put it together and made a dormitory out of it.
Yeah, right, wow.
And we built the number 4 ablution block there after about that time.
Yeah.
But this building here, it was in 2 parts. You can see by the roof line that it's in 2 parts.
Yeah.
Now, for this one, when it was sitting on its own, it looked for all the world like a KFC a kitchen
right,
sort of
so
thing.
that's where the name came from.
That's where the name came from, yeah. So, but it was so good. Again, see, these people here, they just, you know, book a room and they just sleep in there.
Yeah.
They haven't even got PowerPoints. We didn't even want them.
This is like a bunks.
Yeah,
bunk
that's
sort of
right.
set up through here.
And,
yeah.
we didn't want to put power in there because of the fire risk.
Yes.
And they eat in there and they have a ball.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great communal area, and some people, the first thing they do is they want to book in here and to eat in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, but we've been so fortunate. There was a school that closed down a few years ago, and there was a whole heap of stuff that was being taken out. They were going to bulldoze the place, and we got to hear about it, and we're pretty good scavengers. And we got some very good things, and our folks installed them here, and got some really nice kitchen cupboards now.
Yeah.
And we used to have working bees because there was a lot of this was a farmer's paddock and he'd cultivated, and there was a lot of small rocks, maybe about from very small up to, you know, diameter of 150 millimetres or something. Yeah. Because there's a lot of there's old creek courses went through here, and there was a lot of gravel and so on. So we used to have working bees picking them up. And
just picking up rocks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know, young, old, and in between were all picking them up.
So a few years ago, Pastor John, the council wanted you to change a number of things around here because standards had changed, obviously code had changed, and they needed you to do a whole bunch of effectively redevelopment almost of this whole sort of area.
That's right.